listing packets that are more modified to educating the market on interest rates, days on market, those kind of things that may help spring some kind of interest in, getting their home on the market. We'll have two signs for sale in yards in that neighborhood. So we have to take advantage of what's out there right now and bleed it dry. And so we're looking at what marketing looks like next week for us in getting out in that particular neighborhood.
So number one, write down, like, get your pens out. Like, here's what Michael's saying, right? Capitalize on your existing inventory. Like, what listings do you have and how can you capitalize on your existing inventory in order to get more listings? Love it. And he specifically said, man, they're going door to door. In that, what do you think would be possible if before we went door to door, we looked up the stats for that neighborhood and we knew exactly how much that neighborhood had appreciated in value before we knocked on the door? That could be a powerful conversation. Or
I agree. Yeah, I agree, Megan. That could be powerful because you're providing valuable information to the person in the neighborhood. And so they may be on the sideline and now you're telling them that, oh, from last year to now, it went up 60%. And they may be interested in listening to what you have to say. So I think the stats are excellent.
Yeah, great point, Donna. Right. For a lot of people, this is their largest financial asset and they don't know what it's worth. Imagine that. That's wild. Like, imagine you didn't know the value of your largest financial asset. You are the keeper of that information. That's value, huge value.
So we've had our agents doing that same thing, door knocking and giving some information, but then we take it a step further and we give them some flyers on some of the new construction that's in the area, like some of the communities. And we know the agents when they're releasing more inventory and things like that. So it's like, hey, you live in this little house, it's worth a whole lot. Let's go buy you a nice house over in this community you drive by all the time. And we've had some good listing appointments from those, but not enough of our agents do it.
I love that. And Donna, that is a great for you guys because y'all have that brand new community coming online just an hour away. So great. Yeah. Like, what if they could take that investment that they've been living in, cash in on it, and go get something better, even if it's just a little bit away, a little distance away. Now most people work in virtually anyway. So great way to sell, like, get 2 deals out of the door knock. Love that. Who else has got some door knocking strategies that are working, turning into listings?
Well, we're not door knocking, but we're doing a texting campaign this week to all of the realtor partners are sending in a text asking people what price they would consider selling their property at, because we have historical record-breaking prices, and if they want to cash in and protect their hard investment in equities. So far we've got several appointments out of just a texting campaign, and then we're mailing expireds again. So that was probably talked about.
No, you came right in. You're bringing fresh ideas. So campaigns, love that. Who here has heard the golden text, like what Janet's talking about, sending out a text saying, would you consider selling your home to buyers, or some variation of that? Yeah, some hands going up. Who has had some great success setting listing appointments off of the text campaign? Yeah, Hannah, yeah, you have. Hannah, how many text conversations did you generate from that campaign?
We sent about like 600 texts out through command. We had 56 positive interactions that I was on the other end of the computer setting those or carrying on the conversations through command. And then this whole week, 2 of our listing agents, they've been on the phones calling and, looking at comps and talking and trying to get face-to-face with them. So we're still in the works, working on the pipeline, but it's definitely positive and got a bunch of people's wheels turning. So
I hope y'all heard that Hannah, the DOO, was there on the other end generating those opportunities, because DOOs can make it rain when they need to. let's take it one step further, because did anybody hear that and have a limiting belief around doing a text campaign? Did anybody think that doesn't, like, I'm not texting my database that's not going to work. I can't, like, we're not getting appointments that way. This is all nuts.
So the biggest pushback that we've had is the fact that if we text from Twilio, it comes out looking like a marketing text, that it's not coming from the agent's actual number, and that it has like the unsubscribe option at the bottom.
Yeah. Hannah, what'd you guys text using?
We did Twilio as well, and we had a few people are like, is this a genuine text? And I immediately was just like, hey, yeah, it's Carrie, my Rainmaker, you know, just immediately. And we just started texting through there. So just having a quick response, I kind of did like 100 at a time. And yeah, you get your no's or stop or, you know, remove me from this, just because it says that it sends out 2 text messages through Twilio. It'll say, you know, you can unsubscribe by saying stop, or, you know, here comes the bulk of the message. But I mean, it was good. I've had a few friends of mine just this week when I ran into them. They're like, yeah, I got your message. You know, what's the market doing? So just sparking conversation with a bunch of people. It was definitely an easy touch and quick way to respond back to people. So we'll definitely
only send out that unsubscribe once, correct, Hannah? If I understand through Twilio.
Yes, they just have to unsubscribe once, and then it'll take them off the list.
No, I meant that particular message will only go out the first time you text them, and then
Correct.
It doesn't go out again. Right.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Janet, how did you send your texts out?
Everybody's doing it one by one,
Texting.
direct from the cell phone.
There are hybrids you could use. So if you're just like your team or your Rainmaker for whatever reason rejects Hannah's example that this is possible to like get over 50 opportunities using Twilio, then Reach is a great one, which is you can put in the merge code. So hi, client name, you load your list to it. So you put in your 500 people. Here's the catch though, because texting is part of the CAN-SPAM law. So any mass text like Twilio, you're going to get that unsubscribe message. So the way that a Reach, like a hybrid, gets around it is that you have to hit send 500 times. So it'll auto-populate it. It'll say, hey, Liz, text, and you hit send. And then as soon as it sends, the next one pops up, hey, Zach, text, you hit send. So you can do like, I don't know, a couple hundred every, 5 minutes. But if you've got like 1,000 people, it's going to take you half an hour. You're just going to be like send.
And figure out from your brokerage what your laws are, because a lot of this still falls in. If they're on the do not contact or text and they've asked before, we don't want to send that from a personal phone.
Well, as long as it's your Met though, I think it would be okay, but double check with your broker. Like this is for your Met database. This is not like,
yeah, that's why I wanted to clarify, and just make sure they're true Mets. Because some of us have some pretty big Mets that we've been really working through and challenging on whether we truly have met those folks, right? Meaning that I could call them and say, hey, this is Zach. I work with Megan from the Megan team. Do you know me?
Yeah, great point.
So I was actually thinking, we are doing an event. We're going to do a virtual concert. And I was actually thinking that maybe we should send an invite via Twilio first for the event, for the concert, to kind of get them to accept, Twilio as an acceptable platform, and then send the golden text like a week or two later.
I like that, Elizabeth. I think that's good because it's like inviting someone, they may be a link anyway. You're not going to feel like it feels a little more palatable. I feel like that would be an objection. Our team is very sensitive about texting their database, but then they don't do it one at a time like Janet's team. But getting them through that awkward link, unsubscribe with an event is great. Then you're opening the door for future communication.
Love it. Did anybody hear that and think, well, I don't have what if I don't have a buyer for that house? Like I'm lying, or this feels deceitful. Did anybody go there?
Yeah, we had that. And I guess the objection was like, well, I don't know if I like it. I don't think it's perfect for them. It's like, it's about opening the conversation, or we can change the language slightly. Like, I like Janet, you said, like, what price would get you to list? because you might be surprised what your home is worth, or something like that along those lines that opens the conversation. But I feel like we've had a lot of objections on our team for texting, and we talked about it, Megan, we thought it was more about like, are we valuable? Do they really want to hear from us? It's like, yes, this is the time. This is a great time to be educating people, but yeah. I don't know if anyone has other ideas of language that are the deceitful, like, I don't have an actual buyer. It's like, you have a buyer that's might like, or how do you subdivide an entire database on exactly the parameters of every buyer you have? So you are being honest with the golden text, which is 2 sentences.
So another thing that we did at our market center just this week, because we have one for our team, is just a buyer needs Google form. So we just put in there, name of the agent on the team, all the contact information, where our buyer is looking, what part of town, bed and bath, up to price range, and any other notes. So it's been very beneficial. We've used it multiple times just for our team, and now the whole market center does that, and it goes out on our monthly or daily emails. And so then here's the link for all the responses. So then we no longer have just our buyers just on our team, but now I have the whole 300 agents here at our market center with all of their buyer needs. So then if we have a seller that's like, if you've got buyers in this east side part of town, I'll buy, I'll sell. Well, we just look on that list or filter the list and say, hey, I've got 10 buyers that the whole market center has. And it's just like, yeah, we do have buyers for your house, then it's more ammo and more.
Brilliant, Hannah.
That's good, Hannah. Quick question. Do you manage that? Did you take the initiative? Is it a MCA? Is it a Google sheet that keeps getting updated after each Google forms are submitted, or what?
So I pass that off. They literally just copied exactly what we have on our team. And no, the front desk or the MCA manages that for the entire office. But we do have, like, on our daily emails that go out from the office, here's the link to, here's the link to fill in the form, and then here's the responses. So then you can go look or go door knock, and go get some business, saying that, hey, we have buyers looking in this area, because our company legitly does.
We had this come up today. We started our golden letter and we got a response from somebody that's way higher than any buyer price range that we have. So how do you, my Rainmaker is going to call him, but we don't have a buyer in that price range. And she hates the sound that it's deceitful. So she's trying to look for some kind of verbiage that she could use when she calls him.
This is a great question, y'all. Like, these are all the things everyone's having. So I love it. You guys, like, keep this up. We're having a great dialogue.
Go ahead. We
Go
had
ahead.
that same kind of question come up. He has like a $2.8 million home, and we're like, oh god. Yeah. So we called some of the other big agents not in our market center, at the big boutique places in the very high end parts of town. And I called Casey and I was like, hey, we've got a seller that would sell. Here's the details. Do you have buyers? And he said, yeah. And he, so just start the conversations. Look up the top 5-10 people that do that luxury. And
my heart is like being with joy over all of you guys right now, and you're masterminding. Like, yes, this is brilliant. Like, we have a problem. We just said because there's more buyers than homes. So there is a buyer for that home, like, period. There's a buyer out there for that home who is like dying to buy it and competing in a marketplace where they're up against dozens, maybe over 100 offers. Imagine now that your next script is, okay, well, what price point would you sell it to if you only had to show it to one buyer? Now all you gotta go is find this one buyer who wants into this one listing. Like, this is matchmaking that is easy to do in the market we're in. This is not a service you would provide, in 2019. But right now, there's a buyer for that $2.8 million who's tired of competing and will walk in and just buy it. Yeah, man, you guys are like on fire. Hannah, calling the boutique firms. I love it. Love it.
One of the things that our company did is, after the family reunion, they talked a lot about reversing your inventory. So very similar to like Hannah, what they did is they had like a buyer pipeline. We actually put that on our website. So it's kind of our buyer profiles that once we hold a buyer consult and they sign our rep agreement, they check off the box to be marketed online. So what we do is it helps us find listing opportunities where they don't want to go through the hassle of listing their home and dealing with the showings and stuff. That allows us to kind of partner up those buyers and potential listings without them actually having to go through the hassle. So we create a section on our website where we broadcast like a quick buyer profile as well. So that's another way that we kind of tap in, like similar to Hannah, but allowing it to go to our entire database as well.
Beautiful. Like what? Talk about what can you do with that? Like landing pages like, hey, does your house meet any of these descriptions, 100 descriptions? And do you want to sell? What price would you sell for to my client? Love that. Reverse your inventory. Great takeaway from Family Reunion. Zach, would you add any other scripting opportunities or things that people could be doing around this text to like smooth out that transition?
Yeah, I think what's next, right? Facebook group, I haven't brought up. So did we immediately go ask, because most market centers have a Facebook group, maybe not all, and right, do you have a buyer looking for this potential home? I think it's powerful. Right. I think masterminding with your top agents is something I haven't heard, which I love what Hannah said. That's a whole new level on the MC. And if you have an MC that there's some challenges with communication or cooperation, then can you do it with some other single agents in your area and start something small, right? And collaborate when we go through there. And I think we nailed the script and smoothing it out. And at the end of the day, it's understanding too that there will be some turnover of your Met database, and that is okay. And I'm only saying that because I think it's a good reminder, because we get into situations sometimes where it's like we're collecting them, but we don't want to take them out and do anything with them, right? It's like they're all up on a shelf and it's like, well, this is a really expensive showcase we have of names and phone numbers and emails. So part of it is the idea of the Met database is to convert. So just as a friendly reminder, right, it is okay that we're going to lose some, which means we need to build our leads, right, or have it met to fill that in, to get that.
Phenomenal imagery. Now I can just see like everybody I know up on a shelf in a box. Like we're not trying to keep them forever. We want to turn it over and sell houses to these people. So great point. Like if you have a few unsubscribes, it's fine. Zach, love that. Okay, 3:36. Let's keep it going because you guys are on a roll. What else is working to bring listings to the team right now in your markets?
One thing we're about to offer as we're finishing up the marketing is like a guaranteed sale. Write a contingency. A lot of objections, they would sell, but where am I going to go is what we're getting the huge pushback. And because there's obviously no inventory.
That might not be true.
Exactly. So that's where having a contingent, saying, hey, we can wait 30, 60 days. Before your home sells, to make sure you can guarantee that you find something. Have a buyback guarantee. There's a few of us that are investors on the team that are looking to purchase homes. And this would be a way to do a guaranteed sale if it doesn't sell within a short amount of time. So, love that. Does anybody's team do that?
You've been offering up that contingency or just having that conversation. It hasn't come all the way through to a decision to list, but it does give people pause like, oh, didn't even know that was an option. So it keeps the conversation going. We're hoping it'll become a listing.
Go ahead, Elizabeth. I'd say we offer it, and yet we've never closed one. Yeah, and I have some investors I work with who I'm like, yeah, they buy it for that price, but we haven't done one.
We haven't done any either, and we actually one of our agents, he had somebody in his sphere who sold their house to, like, We Buy Ugly Homes or whatever, one of those places, because they didn't know that we could do that. Like, that we know investors that would buy them. And so we've realized we need to start putting that in our marketing. Like, when we go in, we can say, here, there's 3 different ways we can sell your home. The one is we can sell it really quickly to an investor and you're going to make, probably this amount of money. The other is you can sell it as is on the market. You'll probably make this amount. Or we come in and, we're going to tell you, we want you to repaint. We want you to do some carpet. Here's a couple other things. And then you'll sell it for, the top amount. So just making sure that we are being clear about the 3 options with everyone we sit down with.
Yeah, we actually put that in our listing presentation. Like, there's 4 ways you can sell your home. 1, we'll buy it right now. Number 2, you can sell it as is. Number 3, we'll help you fix it up with our vendors. And number 4, you just don't sell it and you rent it. And we actually just bought a house 2 months ago and we're flipping it now. The guy owned 47 lizards.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was an interesting house, but it will make money.
No, that's the dream. Like, that's the dream We Buy It Now house, right? Because they're going to sell it to you now because they have 47 lizards.
We sold a house with 12 guinea pigs, and Mark, our rainmaker, is like, if we can sell the guinea pig house, we can sell anything. The lizard house will go, then, No,
but what a great reminder, Cameron, that, like, we're in real estate. Like, someone on your team will buy that house today at there is a price for which someone on your team
the person that went on the listing appointment didn't buy it. It was someone else on our team that did. So we just know there's someone out there that will buy it. Well, and kind of on that same note, I don't know if everyone else's market's like this, but our rental market's a little bit slower. So we've been trying to reach out towards investors to sell their ugly houses because some people just don't upkeep them. And we've sold a handful of our rental properties on our team and then exchanged them for bigger, nicer things. And so that's another place that we've been looking at getting more listings, is just reaching out to our investors. And it's like, hey, don't you hate your renters in this property? Let's sell it.
Well, we had that conversation today too, about being specific about targeting the renters in our database, or the landlords in our database, because with the whole, well, if I sell my home, where am I going to go? That's not an issue with an investment property. So
great point. Let's talk about
where
this.
I'm going to put the money.
Yeah, right. Like, what are you going to do with your investment? And you could help have an answer for that. So you could do 2 sales, like Cameron said. But let's talk about this issue, because I think this opens up a great thing. And I want y'all to have an opportunity to hear from Donna about this. So we've got landlords in some cases not even able to collect rent, right? Like, these are just, if you own like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 doors, like, you're just a normal person. You don't own like 500 doors, right? You're just a normal person. If you're not collecting rent, like, you're having trouble paying your mortgages. Now, there's a ton of people in forbearance, not just landlords, but the average Joe person. So this is another upcoming opportunity that is easy to overlook in a hot market like ours. You don't often think about forbearance and foreclosure. But Donna, tell us about what you're doing to get listings in that arena.
Okay, well, right now, I checked a few companies. They don't really have a database on the forbearance piece of it. But we're actually working with a company trying to get probate information data. And she put a search in this morning. I'm in South Florida, so Miami-Dade and Broward counties. And she put a search in from October last year till yesterday. And we got 1,147 probate. So these are families who have actually filed a probate. So she was saying that that's many of them, it's a great motivation to sell, because many of them inherit the property and they're not living in the same county. Some are out of state. And so just having the conversation with them, and they may be Googling a real estate agent. So we reaching out to them and letting them know that we can assist them. Then I think that's, a great way to look into. Another one is distressed property owners. And so what they're doing, they are able to pull people who haven't paid their mortgage the last 30 days, 30, 60, and 90. but they're pulling it from the credit bureau. And so we will be getting that information. I've just got the information to start checking it out. So we should have that next week, and just having a conversation with them. Normally, if it's 30 days, they feel like they can get the money from their family.
Donna, you froze. Are you with us? Donna? Well, while she's getting back on the call with us, here's what I hope you're hearing. There are, and we knew this, like back in March, like how many of you were here for the Roxanne Webster video? If you haven't watched that in a minute, like go back and watch the Roxanne Webster video on forbearance, because so many Americans went into forbearance, and now, right as that comes off, they're looking at, I mean, if they were in forbearance for months at a time, they're going to have bills that are like $15,000, $20,000. They can't afford that. Like they can't. And depending on how their mortgage company, their service company is bringing that due, some are bringing it due all at one time. Some are saying, well, you could pay over a year, you know, whatever it is. The amount of people that are going to go from forbearance to foreclosure is huge. And so your database has some of those people in there. They're just not talking about it. So that's number one. And number two, the community you live in has some of those people in there. We're just not talking about it, because right now we're talking about how homes are selling for X over list price. It doesn't feel like there's going to be a foreclosure crisis, and there probably is. So what kind of messaging are you putting out to, here's Zach bringing in some stats. What? Look at Zach with the stats today. U.S. forbearance rate measuring the share of mortgage with suspended payment increased the second time in nearly 6 months. Yeah. It's wild. So this is going to be an issue. So how are you going to go help these people? Like, not only is this a massive source of listings, because in the market we're in, for the price they can get, there's no reason for them to go 30 days, 60 days without making a payment. How can you get information out to the community that's saying, look, here are your options. Like if you sell before you're in default, here's the effect on your credit score. Zero effect, right? Like you live to fight another day. If you sell while, like if you have to sell or do deed in lieu of, like deed in lieu of, here's the effect on your credit score. Foreclosure, here's the effect on your credit score. Even deed in lieu of is like a 200 to 300 point hit. Man, that's hard to recover from. You're not buying another house for a little while. So that's an issue. Donna is back with us. Donna can keep telling us about it now. We were waiting for you to come back, Donna.
Okay, no problem. I don't know what happened. My phone just said it's too hot and it just shut me off. Like I've never had that happen before at these phones.
Great knowledge you're bringing to the call, I tell you.
Yeah, so basically what I was saying is that this company, I'm trying to get a list of all of these people who they just reported to the credit bureau 30, 60 and 90 days. And we're hoping to have conversations with them. And like I mentioned, 30 days, typically, from my experience back in 2008, they don't, they're going to get the money from a family member, basically. And so we have to just continuously follow up, because when 90 days come and 120 days and they see they're not getting the funds, then at that point, then, you know, they will want to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah, a great place to find listings, and B, what a wonderful service to your community if you can help people avoid foreclosure, because they can live to fight another day. They can go get a home next year if they need to, and they didn't go through foreclosure. Janet has a question. Is it usual that you can get this information from the credit bureau? It's not from the credit bureau. Usually it's from a third party. Donna, what's the name of the company that you're?
Yeah, so it's for, I'm pulling up the name. So just somebody just told me about it. Let's see. It's foreclosuresdaily.com. And I can put the information for the lady that I've been speaking to in the chat with her number, because they're all over the US.
Awesome. That would be awesome.
Yes, and then, you know, you could reach out to her. She's very knowledgeable. We had her on yesterday and she shared the information with our team, but you could invite her to come on a team meeting and give her maybe 15, 20 minutes. It was like a lot of information that she can provide. to you. Let me put her information.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. Great.
That's awesome. It's just like, I know Megan even brought up shift, right? It's when we talk about that, and then it's one of those gradually then suddenly things. So I think it is important that when you think about forbearance, right? When, don't know. To the extent, I'm sure there's skeptic, people that look into this way smarter than me that will let us know what that is. But you just look at the numbers and go with sharing with what Gary shared with us about the statistics around unemployment. So just even take that 5.49% of the unemployed, right? And you have a healthy number that would say we should get ahead of this and learn and fulfill our fiduciary responsibility, right? When it comes to real estate, not anything outside of that, but real estate specifically.
Plus, it's a ton of listings. Like, this is the definition of a win-win, because there is a lot of property locked up in this issue right now. So we've talked about capitalizing on our current listings, capitalizing on our database through things like the golden text, reversing our inventory. We've talked about now probate and pre-foreclosure, we'll call it, because these people are not in foreclosure. We want to save them from foreclosure. What else are you guys doing to bring listing inventory to your teams that's working?
Well, and I have a question I would like to ask. So what objections are we hearing from for sale by owners that we're reaching out to?
Great question. Does anyone here do for sale by owners?
Our team does, however, I don't think we've discussed lately what the objections are.
What do you think they would be right now?
Oh, I'm sure the biggest one is homes are selling really quickly. Why? I don't need an agent. I can do it on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do we prepare for that? Any thoughts around that as a group? How would we prepare our agents for that objection?
One of the things that we're saying is homes are selling, like that's not the problem. It's how do you decide which offer is the best offer for you? And so it's not the marketing or anything like that. It's like, okay, now you have 100 offers. How do you choose? And what do they all mean? Because everyone's getting fancy with their addendums and what they'll pay and what they won't do. And it's a nightmare for agents. So I couldn't even imagine being a homeowner trying to do it with limited knowledge.
You nailed it, right? Love that, Cameron. You nailed it. And then that trickles down to how are we supporting our agents and what script practice language are we using? Because if we're using the same presentation that we did in the same script, I think it's fair to say, and what we've established today is we're not in the same market. So where's our scripting change and where can we help our team with that?
We are coming down to the end of the road here, and I feel I would be remiss as the role play Rumble operations coach to not mention that our current transactions are also a great source of listings, right? Referrals during the transaction are one of the lowest hanging fruit that we've got, because those people, especially in a market that is, sorry, Phil, not you, especially in a market that's 300 times more listings coming to the market and selling in a day, 2 days, 3 days, those people have 300 times more referrals to give us, right? Because there's that many more listings coming on the market. So somebody who last 2019 might have had a referral is going to have 3 referrals based on that math. So we need to be capitalizing on the referrals we get during the transaction. And that's all ops, in my opinion. Like, that's the domain of the ops department. Ops bring in referrals during the transaction. Like a boss, making it rain. Way to go, guys.
Can anybody share what their best practices are with getting referrals, like asking for them, whether it's scripting, or I'd love to hear what you guys are doing with tracking. Like, how are you tracking getting those referrals and holding people accountable?
There's a lot of questions. What script do you
I
use?
know.
How do you track it? How do you hold your system to it accountable? Who's got some answers?
I don't have answers except the promise script, which we don't use, but I think it's a good one. I just learned about it last week, so, but I think it's good. And Daniel didn't know about it, so I'm going to introduce him. So
The Promise is The Promise is the script that, if you are in my Role Play Rumble group, that's the script that is our foundational script for referrals during the transaction. So, you know, it was developed by Mike Hicks, who gets like 70%, I believe is his number. 70% of his transactions give a referral during the transaction. So it works. There are others, but The Promise is really, it's a system. It's not just a script, it's a system in parts. So I'll drop it in the chat box for everybody, but it's a system that it works. Now, a lot of people say, I do The Promise, and I say, give it to me, like deliver it to me. And it's not The Promise. So if you're not getting 70%, you're probably not delivering The Promise. You've probably got some like watered down version along the way. So let me drop it for you. Keep going though, while I'm pulling that up for you guys. Keep going. Like how do you track it? What scripts are you using? And how do you like get better at this skill?
So for our tracking, every single week I ask our transaction coordinator how many referrals did she receive during the under contract process. And her answer at the first was, I don't know. And because agents would just get the calls and things like that all the time. And so I would continually ask her. And so now she checks in with the agents at the end of every closing, like, did you get any referrals during that whole process? And if so, who? And then we have a little spreadsheet that we keep track of them there. That's been the only way to kind of get some info. Agents never want to share with us.
It's like herding cats.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, so on the spreadsheet that you use, is it any referral that comes off of a transaction that TC helped, that TC gets credit, basically?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have any bonuses or anything tied to it, so I'm very generous. I'm like, yep, that's yours. Just to know, like, okay, you're doing something well.
Yeah.
The promise script is where you want to get to, and while you're getting to that and executing it, a quick implementation, right, is usually we don't have call reluctance, we just have a value deficiency. So what can you offer as value from your team to who you're calling? And that will be a quick way to increase that, right? So an example of that would be inviting them to an event, right? So it would be, hey, Megan, you know, we're just looking forward to you coming out to getting our pie event, driving by and picking it up. Hey, who else do you know that would also like to pick up a pie for us that might be willing to you know, buy or sell? Something along those lines, which is where you're adding value and offering it to someone else is a quick implementation while you're getting the promise script up and running.
Love it. Love it. And if you're not already, you or your TC, send them to my Role Play Rumble, because that is where we will role play this script until it's perfect and you're getting that referral rate. Usually not the deal. This is usually though, like whoever is doing your transactions, whoever talks to your clients needs to be role playing this script that I just dropped for you guys. So they can nail it. Okay, we have 3 minutes left. Zach, what's our topic next week?
We don't have one.
Well, I didn't think so. What do we want to talk about, guys? This is your call. What do we want to talk about next week? Calm down. I know you're excited. One at a time.
Well, I mean, with all these ideas, it's hard to be heard above the noise, but I am really hoping to find a great way to capture and implement systems. I mean, it sounds trite. We do that all the time, but I've seen lots of copy and paste. You can get lost in the sauce out there in the Kellerverse, but it would be nice if we could talk about like how, when you find something that works, you reflect on it, you systematize it, and then you repeat it with success that's continued. So that would be That's where I am, what I need.
I'm struggling to repeat that in a, Zach, repeat what you just heard her say.
I'm with you. I know what you're saying. It's how do we word this into a topic that
Right.
everyone can get on board? Because believe me, you're not alone there, right? I
Writing
would
the playbook, writing the, documenting the system. That doesn't sound fun, but
yeah.
Standard, like how to create.
Standard, what we talked about.
Operations playbook.
Yeah,
Operation-
standard
operation-
operating procedures, yeah. Playbook, I don't know.
Procedures or that's not quite, that's like close to what you're saying. It's like create it and then also do it. Like how to create and consistently implement your
Yeah,
standard.
it's how to create systems for growth.
Yeah.
Use them. I feel like Caroline's got the create them part really down. Like how do
It's
you,
also the like, yeah, the create them in a way that will be used and repeated. I'm like still using lots of words.
how to
maybe no, I'm the only one struggling. Everyone else is kicking ass in that area. But.
No.
I've seen a lot of people nod with you. So yeah, we'll figure out a way to label this. And I think we're all on the same page, right, of what we'll be looking at.
Awesome.
Paula's awesome at that. So we'll
Yeah,
allow her
we'll
to use her eloquent words to figure this out for
Yeah,
us.
we'll smash it into something more concise, but you are here today, so you know precisely what we'll be talking about, regardless of what we call the title. And Rich Dad Poor Dad is our book club of the month. So be buying / reading that. And Lauren, if you want to email me, because we're about to, this is about to end and I want to.
And then do you have the link to Roleplay Rumble? Phil was asking.
Yes, it's roleplayrumble.com.
There you go, roleplayrumble.com.
Put in the chat. And Lauren, I just sent you my email address. Roleplayrumble.com. Yeah.
Thanks, Megan.
Okay,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
We will see you next week to talk about that thing we just discussed and then be reading your books for the end of the month. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Thanks.